CRJ227, this is the week 6 guide. Week 6 means we really have one more big week of work, and I'm going to ask that you keep your energy. You know, we're heading into the 4th of July this weekend, and people tend to let up a little bit on the gas towards the end of any semester, but you know, we only have a little bit more to go, so please stay with me, keep your energy up, and keep going. This is an important week. This week we're going to focus on search without a search warrant. So read the document that I linked to the assignment form, and then listen to this guide. If you haven't read that document, go read it. After you've done that, you know, and then listen to this guide all the way through, because I'm going to give you some of my insights. You're going to be looking for a news story or a case that discusses specifically an issue related to the police making a search incident to a lawful arrest. No high-profile cases. Keep it to more local and think simple. It's kind of the theme I've been offering, right? Present in your own words that case. And another case then that discusses an issue related to the police searching a vehicle. I've sort of alluded to vehicles a little bit in prior weeks. And then part 3, a case that discusses an issue related to police search of a place, a thing, or a vehicle with consent. Now, you may find one case that covers all those things, but if you do that, you need to extrapolate out all of those. You know, like a point 1, 2, and 3 out of that case, or 3 different examples. Or 2 examples that cover all 3 things. On deadly force, for part 4 of this week's assignment, I want you to think back to and review the various examples raised and discussed to date on this topic. At this point, you know what is required for a search warrant, and you are knowledgeable about what a police officer is expected to do in order to search without a warrant. Most deadly force incidents come from circumstances that fall within or as a result of one of the various scenarios in which a search is allowed without a warrant. Why this is may seem obvious, but I believe that the fact that it's not discussed in greater detail, elaborated on, and then reviewed as to how things could be done differently is part of the reason we continue to see mistakes and some questionable and plain wrong use of deadly force. In other words, tell us why you believe that it is this way. More importantly, if you were cautioning or training law enforcement, what are some of the basic considerations you would suggest they be mindful of in hiring and training officers and in developing expectations through department procedure? Remember, you have a procedure manual from one of the largest police departments in the world at your disposal from prior weeks. You also have a pretty good mastery of the law. And again, base what you tell me on the law, not what you feel. I always appreciate what people feel. But in our business, it's about the facts and how those facts apply to the law. So tell me where that falls. Now, getting to the exceptions for a search warrant requirement. There's 6. Search incident to a lawful arrest. Plain view. Consent. The automobile exception. Emergencies / hot pursuit. And stop and frisk. Now, we've delved into a little bit of some of or most of these in prior areas. You've seen these things come up in other cases that you've read, other examples that you presented or discussed or other people have presented. From the first week on, we have touched on and read about several examples of each of these things by way of the cases and news items and the procedural law we've explored in the past 5 weeks. We need to be familiar with and follow the law and exceptions as to each of these 6 distinct search warrant exceptions. Now, obviously, these 6 are referred to as the major exceptions because they go hand in hand with the most common and most likely and most expected circumstances of law enforcement as it interacts with the public each day. I want to share some additional thoughts about 2 of these 6 exceptions, vehicles and consent. Some of you, as police officers and interns, have experience on the law enforcement side or the other of traffic stops. Probably this group, I'm trying to think here, most everybody on the other side of traffic stops. Very few of you have been participants in or seen an actual stop as an intern or making the stop at this juncture from this particular class. Some of those folks and many of the rest of you have experience on the receiving end of that traffic stop. I too have been on both sides. And because I'm old, my career has taken a few twists and turns, and the world has changed greatly in my lifetime. I have a wild range of experiences and a few distinct thoughts about traffic stops and consent to search. Let's get the first reality out of the way immediately. When I was in a position to make a traffic stop, there was no such thing as dash cams or even cell phones. No cell phones. Those came along a little later. Any photographs someone may take or have of a stop would need to be taken somewhere to be developed. It wasn't an instantly produced thing. Fast forward. Today, dash and body cam video allows us to record video and audio pretty much all aspects of a stop and depending on the angles of the cameras available, all angles. So it allows us to record a stop and what occurs thereafter, and even if a dash cam is not installed on the police vehicle or in for some reason turned off, or a body cam, the likelihood that someone has a cell phone out and is recording the event, or there's some other closed circuit TV, intersection camera, security camera at a house or business, etc., is pretty high. I know you may think at this point I'm stating the obvious, but before you dismiss me as some crotchety old guy talking about the old days, here is the point I want to make and I want you to take away from this part of my reminiscing. Before dash cams and cell phones, you had only your report to document your reason for a stop. The circumstances that led up to an arrest or a search of a vehicle by consent or otherwise. Those circumstances are only documented in your report. So back in the day, you'd better find time to make notes to draft a clear and well-stated report, and you had better document all that you encountered and did as you hopefully followed the law. Now, fast forward to today, in many states, many laws, many departments have expectations, policies, etc., that dictate that those cameras, body or dash, be engaged and operational up until and during all aspects of the stop and arrest. Initially, some in policing found this intrusive and they worried about being second-guessed. Maybe, had I been a police officer at that time, I may have shared those concerns, and I had other concerns in those early days as technology and policies changed rapidly. As it turns out, I think most in policing value the dash cam or the body cam for two reasons. One, it provides some unequivocal proof of the reason for the stop, what occurred during the stop, the reasons for the arrest or search, and all of the circumstances and things related to those events. Now, we obviously have seen that if you do things incorrectly, the same is true, right? Now, I made the transition from law enforcement to lawyer a long time ago. Shortly after coming to teach at ICC, I started a position as a hearing officer presiding over vehicle impound cases for the city of Peoria. These cases are based on vehicle stops, arrests, and most often a search of a person in a vehicle. I've heard and decided these cases for well over 20 years, close to 25 years. In fact, as it turns out, I retired from doing this in Peoria in 2018, and sometime this summer I will hear my last of these types of cases and all kinds of other cases that I've presided over because it's time. But that changed the entire landscape of vehicle stops. It provides protection for both citizens and police. If a stop, arrest, and search is good, it's on video. If a stop or arrest or search is not per the law or not good per the law, it's on video. Now, I'll say this, so as this is evolving, one of the things that police and command seem to complain about regarding the Illinois law specifically is a worry that they're not going to be able to review their video as they write their police report. Now, I don't know how that's going to pan out. I don't know if that will be challenged, if it will come in, if it will go out, if it will come back, but it keeps getting raised. Prior to this past year, you could look at your vehicle, your dash cam or your body cam, review and refresh your memory and write your report. But here's the thing. Go back to what I said about before video. Why wouldn't you keep good notes? Why wouldn't you do what you need to do to record your recollection? And if you do that, then your recollection should, for the most part, match up to the video. So even if that's where this goes, go back to what we used to do, and it should match up. And if you struggle with recall, or you struggle with details, or peripheral vision, or whatever your issue is, those are skills. Develop those skills. Develop those skills. It's just something that you do. Now remember, for stopping a vehicle, all you need is reasonable suspicion. Our old friend, reasonable suspicion. A law enforcement officer is within his or her rights to stop a vehicle if the officer has reasonable suspicion that a traffic violation or crime has occurred. An investigatory stop allows the officer to inquire into the reasons for the suspect's behavior, such as deviating from his or her lane of traffic. However, a stop of this nature must be temporary. It should not last any longer than it's absolutely necessary to carry out the purpose of the stop. Remember our old friend time and distance. Time and distance come up all over in the law. Additionally, the methods of the officer employed to investigate should be the least intrusive means that are available in order to confirm or dispel the officer's suspicion in a brief period of time. There are many times when a stop is made on reasonable suspicion. An example, the person driving appears to be an individual known to the officer as being without a driver's license. That happens all the time. Police pull somebody over and determine they don't have a driver's license. Well, I've had all kinds of excuses made for people, but here's the bottom line. If you're driving around in a vehicle unlicensed, even if that vehicle's owner or you as the owner have insurance, you don't have insurance coverage. Go check it out. Every Illinois vehicle insurance policy has an exclusion if an unlicensed driver is operating that vehicle. No license, no insurance. So who's holding the bag if that individual gets in a wreck? Police pull people over all the time, and then they get to know those people are going to keep driving without a license. It happens all the time. And so if they see that person driving, they can pull them over. Find out if they did get their license back. Actually, they're going to run the person and find out for sure that John Smith has not yet received his license back per the Secretary of State, and then whoop, pull them over. There's times when a vehicle is stopped on probable cause. It's traveling above the speed limit. It's crossing the center line. There's some other clear moving violations. And guess what? With the dash cam, those reasonable suspicions are recorded on the dash cam. The entire encounter, from initiation of the pursuit, stop, and to the end, is recorded. If you do that, no problem with the stop. And in those probable cause scenarios, there isn't much counter-argument to a video of a vehicle crossing the center line, driving after dark with no lights on, driving at a high rate of speed, because it'll be showed up on the dash cam video what the speed of the officer's car was. You'll be able to determine speed. The final point on dash cams and body cams as it relates to your report. Again, you still need to draft and present a well-written report. You still need to keep notes. You may be asked to review and testify about what the dash cam video shows while on the witness stand. But you'll also have a report, and you'll also be asked and examined about your report, and so hopefully they're consistent. You should also prepare to testify, having seen, dozens or more or hundreds of incidents between the time of the arrest and the time you get called to testify. You should prepare to testify, review your reports. So as stated before, if you're not a decent rider now, become a decent rider. And guess what? You're going to have the benefit of being able to review your report, your dash cam video. And again, we'll see how that plays out in the law in Illinois and elsewhere. Now, regarding consent, it's actually kind of simple. First, many departments teach and train with specific language for seeking consent to search a vehicle. Use that language. Do not deviate from that language. Use it consistently. Do not vary. Have it on a card. Have it on that visor card or a card in your pocket, and stick to that language. Second, if consent is provided, make sure the acknowledgement is verbal and clear. Get it on your camera. Finally, don't be surprised if the driver of a vehicle that has clearly visible contraband or the cloud of cannabis smoke, well, that's kind of old, right? Some other clear indication provides an emphatic denial of possessing anything illegal while at the same time providing consent to search the vehicle. I've always likened this to the little child that stuffed his pocket with a handful of candy he wasn't supposed to get, and when asked if you could see his hand, he says yes, hoping you'll think that consent means that he didn't do anything. And I guess hopefully he'll go away. Many times when contraband is found, This is what occurs with consent to search vehicles. Additionally, just like the little child, once the contraband is found, you should be ready for denials and tantrums. If consent is withheld, go back and review searches incident to arrest, and if available, your department's policy. If there's a reason for arrest, well then, remember where we go. And it's an impoundable offense, impound an inventory, and then, get a search warrant. Next week, we go to interrogation/interviews and confessions. For those of you who had CRJ230, you're old experts at this, but this is going to be from a little more of an evidence perspective. I hope that you had a good week 5. Be safe over the holiday weekend. Same deadlines next week. We're not taking a break. We're going to knock out week 6. We have 7 and 8 to go. As I said, please keep your energy high. If you need me, you know where to find me.